The hum of the refrigerator in their stylish, minimalist apartment felt louder than usual, at least to Jake. Across the couch, Emma was animated, her hands cutting through the air as she relived her day. "And so I told my boss, if you want this project done right, you put me in charge," Emma said, her face lit with absolute certainty. "I mean, honestly, who else in that department has my vision? They'd all be lost without me." Jake tried to hold her gaze, but his eyes kept drifting toward the window, watching the city lights blur against the dark glass. He felt a familiar weight pressing down on his chest, the exhaustion of playing the supporting character in a narrative that only ever had room for one star. "That's great, he said quietly, forcing a small smile. "Sounds like it went well." "Oh, it did," Emma replied, completely missing the flatness in his tone. "Mark practically begged me to take the lead. He knows I'm the only one who can pull it off. It's exhausting being the only competent person sometimes, you know?" Jake shifted on the cushions, trying to find a foothold in the conversation. "Actually, I wanted to tell you about—" "Wait, before you forget," Emma interrupted, her mind already racing ahead. "We're having dinner with my parents on Friday, and I told them you'd help my dad with his computer this weekend. He's been having that issue with the network again." Jake felt a sudden spike of anxiety. "Emma, I can't this weekend. I have that certification exam I've been studying for months. Remember? It's on Sunday." Emma sighed dramatically, leaning back against the couch. "Oh, right. That. Can't you just reschedule? This is really important to my dad." Frustration crept into Jake's voice. "I've already paid for the exam. The date is set. It's incredibly important for my career." Emma pouted, a practiced expression that usually yielded results. "I guess your career is more important than helping out family. Fine. Do what you need to do." The next afternoon, Jake stood by the kitchen counter of his own office building, a phone pressed to his ear. His sister, Linda, could hear the strain in his voice before he even finished his first sentence. "You sound stressed, Jake," Linda said, her voice laced with genuine concern. "Everything okay with you and Emma?" Jake ran a hand through his hair, staring down at his shoes. "It's just a lot. Emma's been really intense lately with work, and she doesn't really seem interested in what's going on with me." "Has she asked about your exam?" Jake let out a bitter, joyless laugh. "She remembers it exists, but only when it inconveniences her plans. Last night, she told me I should be studying less because I'm not being attentive enough to her emotional needs." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Jake." Linda hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Have you ever noticed how every conversation somehow circles back to her?" "That's not fair," Jake snapped, instantly defensive. "She's just passionate about what she does. She's a driven person." "And what are you?" Linda asked softly. Jake didn't have an answer. A few nights later, the contrast became impossible to ignore. They were at a noisy, crowded restaurant with friends to celebrate Emma's recent promotion. Emma held court at the center of the table, laughing loudly, her glass raised. Jake sat right beside her, but he felt miles away, entirely invisible. "That's amazing that you got that promotion," one of their friends exclaimed. "You must be thrilled." Emma beamed, soaking in the admiration. "Oh, it was nothing really. I'm just naturally good at leadership. People respond to my energy. It's a gift, really." Another friend turned to Jake, trying to pull him into the circle. "And how's your work going, Jake? Emma mentioned you were up for that team lead position." Jake cleared his throat, offering a weak, tight smile. "Actually, I didn't get it. They went with someone else, but—" "Oh." He's disappointed, obviously. Emma cut in smoothly, patting his arm without looking at him. "But he'll be fine. Not everyone is cut out for leadership roles. I keep telling him he should focus on his strengths. He's a great supporter, very reliable." Jake felt himself physically shrink. The words stung, but what hurt more was the casual, effortless way she dismissed his ambition. The conversation moved on immediately, leaving him stranded in the noise. Later that night, the silence in their bedroom was suffocating. Jake lay on his back, staring blankly at the ceiling. Emma rolled over, propping herself up on her elbow. "What's wrong?" You've been quiet since we got home. Nothing, Jake said, his voice completely flat. It's about the job, isn't it? You're still dwelling on that, Emma said with a sigh. Honestly, Jake, you need to develop more resilience. Rejection happens. I've faced it plenty of times, and I always come out stronger. Jake turned his head to face her, a sudden spark of anger breaking through his numbness.
When?
When have you ever faced rejection? Emma looked offended. Excuse me? Just last year, that client chose to go with another firm. I was devastated for a whole day. Jake sat up, the unfairness of the comparison bubbling over. A day? Emma, I've been working toward that position for 2 years. I stayed late. I took on extra projects. I sacrificed my weekends. And it wasn't enough. Emma interrupted, her tone sharp. Maybe you're just not as ambitious as you think you are. Some people are content to just be. And that's okay. Not everyone can be a star. Jake stared at her, the reality of who she was settling into his bones. You really don't see it, do you? See what? That you're feeling sorry for yourself. Emma shook her head, genuinely confused. Yes, I see it. And I'm trying to help you move past it. You're welcome, by the way. Without another word, Jake lay back down and turned his back to her. Emma shrugged, entirely unaffected, and picked up her phone to scroll through social media. By Friday, the tension had hardened into an unspoken wall. Jake was hunched over the kitchen table, notes and textbooks scattered around him, desperately trying to focus on his upcoming exam. Emma walked into the kitchen, dressed to go out, smelling of expensive perfume. By Friday, the tension had hardened into an unspoken wall. Jake was hunched over the kitchen table, notes and textbooks scattered around him, desperately trying to focus on his upcoming exam. Emma walked into the kitchen, dressed to go out, smelling of expensive perfume. You're still studying? She asked, adjusting her earrings. I'm meeting the girls for drinks. You should come. Take a break. I can't, Jake said, not looking up from his paper. The exam is in 2 days. Emma sighed, her voice dripping with irritation. You're always studying lately. It's like I don't even have a boyfriend anymore. Jake finally looked up, his frustration boiling over. This is important for my future, Emma. Something I want for myself. Emma's expression turned ice cold. Something you want for yourself. I see. So my needs don't factor into this equation at all. Jake stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. That's not what I'm saying. But this exam is on Sunday. After that, I can... Forget it, Emma snapped, cutting him off. I'll go alone. Again. Don't wait up. The heavy front door slammed shut, vibrating through the quiet apartment. Jake sank back into his chair, burying his face in his hands. The next day, Linda came over while Emma was out. She sat beside Jake on the living room couch, watching the hollow, exhausted look in his eyes. Where's Emma? Linda asked gently.
Out.
With friends.
Work.
Who knows? Jake muttered, shrugging. Linda placed a hand on his shoulder. Jake, what's going on? You look miserable. A breath caught in Jake's throat, and for the first time, his voice broke. I don't know if I can do this anymore, Linda. Do what? The relationship. Jake nodded, tears welling in his eyes. It's like, I don't exist. Unless I'm reflecting her, supporting her, praising her. The moment I have my own needs, my own successes or failures, I'm either boring or disappointing to her. Linda looked at him with a profound sadness. That's not love, Jake. That's an audience. But she doesn't see it, Jake pleaded, desperately trying to rationalize the last few years of his life. She genuinely thinks she's being supportive. She thinks she's helping me. Linda hesitated for a moment. Have you ever heard of narcissistic personality disorder? Jake's defense mechanism immediately kicked in.
No.
And don't start diagnosing her. She's not perfect, but she's not a narcissist. I'm not diagnosing, Linda said softly, squeezing his hand. Just maybe look it up. For yourself. Late that night, long after Linda had left, Jake sat in the dark glow of his computer screen. His eyes scanned the articles, his face growing paler with every paragraph. lack of empathy, an inflated sense of self-importance, an inability to genuinely connect with others' experiences, viewing relationships merely as a means to an end. Every word felt like a mirror holding up the last 2 years of his life. It wasn't a series of misunderstandings. It was a pattern. The front door clicked open and Emma walked in, hummed a cheerful tune. She noticed him staring at the screen. Hey. Sorry, I'm late. The drinks ran long. What are you looking at? Jake closed the laptop quickly, the click sounding like a gavel. Nothing. Just work stuff. Emma peered at him, crossing her arms. You've been acting so weird lately. Seriously, Jake, it's starting to drain my energy, and I need to be completely focused for my presentation tomorrow. Jake looked at his hand resting on the closed laptop. Your presentation. Right. Exactly, Emma said, turning toward the bedroom. I'm going to bed. Don't stay up too late brooding. It's really not a good look on you. Sunday morning arrived with a crisp, unyielding quiet. Jake stood by the front door, methodically checking his wallet for his ID and sliding his keys into his pocket. At the kitchen island, Emma sat in her silk robe, completely absorbed in her phone, sipping coffee. I'm heading out, Jake said, his voice entirely calm. The exam starts in an hour. Without looking up from her screen, Emma waved a hand dismissively. Good luck. Oh, by the way, my car is making that weird clicking noise again. Can you take a look at it when you get back? I want to hit the mall before it gets too busy. Jake stopped. His hand rested on the brass doorknob. The silence that followed was heavy, absolute, and final. No, Jake said softly. Emma blinked, her eyes finally snapping up from her phone. Excuse me? Jake turned around. For the first time in months, the slouch in his shoulders was gone. His voice was steady, empty of anger, but entirely hollow. No, Emma. I won't look at your car. I won't reschedule my life. I'm not going to be your audience anymore. Emma let out a sharp, nervous laugh, her defenses immediately flaring. Jake, what are you even talking about? Are you having a panic attack because of your test? You're being completely dramatic. I'm going to take my exam, Jake said, looking at her clearly. And when I'm done, I'm going to stay at Linda's. I'll come back for the rest of my things tomorrow, while you're at the office. Emma stood up, her face flushing with genuine anger and utter bewilderment. Your things? You're breaking up with me? Over a car? Over a test? After everything I've done for you? I have built you up, Jake. I've tried to make you a stronger, more resilient person. You are being incredibly selfish right now. Jake looked at her, a profound, tired sadness in his eyes. He realized then that she wasn't lying. She truly couldn't see past the walls of her own ego. The scariest part is, Jake whispered, you actually believe that. Goodbye, Emma. He opened the door, stepped out into the hallway, and pulled it firmly shut behind him. Emma stood frozen in the middle of the beautiful, expensive apartment. She stared at the closed door, her mind racing, genuinely baffled by what had just occurred. Shaking her head, she caught her own reflection in the large, decorative mirror on the living room wall. She smoothed down her robe, adjusted her hair, and scoffed. Unbelievable, she muttered to herself, crossing her arms. He always has to find a way to make everything about him. Grabbing her phone from the counter, she immediately dialed a number. As the line began to ring, Emma's face twisted into an expression of deep, victimized sorrow, her voice dropping into a trembling, fragile tone the moment the call connected. Hey, Sarah, are you free? You will not believe what Jake just put me through.